Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Trusted Connections. I'm Teresa Rivnak with Trusted Settlement Services, and every week I'll be interviewing the real community leaders in the real estate industry, delving into the why behind the brand of the business and what personal growth and perseverance it takes to build a successful business. Be sure to stay tuned, to like and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date when new videos come out. Our guest for today's episode has chosen for us to support Phil Abundance, leading the fight against hunger. Today on Trusted Connections is who I call Philadelphia's storyteller developer. With a passion for historic properties, Mike Tomasetti of the Civetta Property Group in Pennsylvania is driven to creating spaces that not only maintain their character narrative, but blend with innovative modernism. The Civetta Group is a private real estate investment company that builds for homeowners and mitigates risk for investors. Mike and his wife Brennan have been investing in real estate since 1999 and have acquired over 70 properties, developing both single-family and multi-unit properties. Mike's artistic appreciation and realistic approach have allowed him and his team to have truly mastered the balance in creating desirable homes. Hey Mike, thanks for joining us today on Trusted Connections. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just jump right into everything. And why don't you tell us what you have going on right now and what you've been doing over the past few months?
So the last couple of months, while the world is going batshit crazy, we have finalized a 56-unit building in Kensington that we're leasing out. So we're just dealing with the new world order and how to, work around being safe while showing apartments and having people come through and tour the building. So that's kind of one of the biggest things we're working on right now, and trying to get leased up and move on to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. So is this one of the bigger projects you've had over the years, or?
Yeah, so it's definitely one of the bigger ground up developments we've done. Our niche is like boutique 20 units and under. But this is a little bit different. I prefer what our company loves to do is take historical buildings and develop them into neat little kitschy boutique apartments. Most of them have commercial components to it, which is kind of up in the air and uncertain right now. So yeah, that's what I love to do. That's what I prefer to do is that kind of development, the historical
Absolutely.
stuff.
Now, how did you get into that? So, because I know that's definitely a niche market, getting into, when you're building with the historical units. I mean, it's definitely got to be quite a challenge at times. So what got you into that?
The first historical project I did was probably 11 years ago. We developed a house in Society Hill, and I just thought it was really interesting to take something that was built in 1890 and bring everything up to date. So I thought that was a little bit more challenging than taking a piece of land and getting blueprints and just building a square box. So I like the challenges of that. I like that kind of stuff. I like updating the older properties that are out there. So I don't know. It's just kind of something that I've done this. I've been in this business. So I'm 46. I've been in this business since I was 26, and I've done everything in this business. So it was the one thing that I was like, I really liked to do it. So I try to focus on that.
Yeah. So what would you say it is in your personality that, you are drawn to that type of development, and taking something that's been, built, years ago and having to, kind of reconfigure and get it up to date, and what is it that you find is alluring about that?
So what I like about it is, back in the day, we didn't have all the sophisticated tools we have now to develop properties, right? So how these properties were built were truly amazing. So I just thought that it's unbelievable to see how things were built back then and how they're built now. And if you merge the two and add additions and how to make it flow, and just like, I don't know, it's probably the artistic side in me, which, I'm just a shitty architect, a failed architect and artist, so it just helps with that part of my brain.
Yeah. Where do you
So that's
get
what
your
I like.
inspiration from when you're designing everything?
So I like working with really good architects.
Hmm.
And I was just talking to a friend of mine about this. We're pretty involved with our architects, right? So I'll go and I'll look at all these different buildings around the world and I'll say, I really like these three buildings. Let's develop something that has different styles of this building, of these three buildings. Um, I just kind of pull it all over from all over the world.
So, does every project do have some kind of similarity in them? What's your style? What do you tend to gravitate towards?
What do I gravitate towards? I like color. I like things that are different, a little bit off the beaten path of what everyone else is doing. Everyone's putting cookie cutter things together. I like to
Hmm.
think a little bit different, use different materials, even if it is a little bit more expensive. We do some low income housing for the city that we develop, and even some of that stuff is just not your normal cookie cutter stuff. I mean, we designed some really interesting things at affordable price points. I don't know. It's just it's kind of can be all over. If you look at our portfolio, it can, you know, it's all over the board. It's just
Yeah,
how I'm feeling in that design or that day, I guess.
right. So, do you design more for the end user or more for where the market is and what's going on? Or
So mostly the end user. I think about the market conditions all the time, right? Because you have to be aware of what's going on. So I'm constantly touring other people's buildings, constantly touring other apartments, seeing what the big players are doing and how can I get that from a center city standpoint into like a old city or Fishtown. What does that look like, right? How to make that affordable. I'm
Mhm.
always thinking about the end user and renter. I mean, I've been living in the city since '97, so I've lived all over, me and my wife, and just kind of constantly touring properties and learning and updating what we're doing.
What city have you found the most inspiration from?
Well, one of my favorite cities is Rome.
Hmm.
Touring around Italy. I was married there. Just going in some of those places and just being in something that was built back in the 1600s
Right.
is just blows your mind, right? I mean,
It is.
traveling anywhere in Europe, but Rome mostly because it's a big city that has so rich in history.
It does. Yeah, I know. It definitely, it was one of the most amazing cities I've definitely been in. And I'm sure you could have pulled a lot of ideas from that. Now,
Oh yeah.
uh, do you keep a lot of the original structure, or how do you work that?
So I try to keep as much original structure as I can. Sometimes we'll add additions. Sometimes it's just you have to knock certain sections down and rebuild them. I try to keep the core of the property in place. I mean, I love historic for the fact of you're not building like that. If we were to build like that today, it would cost us a fortune, right? You
Right.
couldn't even build that way. So being able to take that and repurpose it, it's exciting and fun.
What got you into it?
So me and my wife first, my wife actually got me into it. So
Hmm.
we both read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I owned a construction company, and she called me one day and said, I just bought three houses. And I was like, you did what? She's like, yeah, I just bought three houses. The math works out. And, I was like, would you like me to go look at them? She's like, no, it makes sense on paper. And this is what we're going to do. So that's how we got started.
Yeah,
So
that
it
is,
was
that's
quite interesting.
I love that. She's like, I just
Yeah,
made it happen.
she made it happen. Yeah, she totally made it happen. And then, she's involved daily, but I took the ball and kind of ran with it from there.
Now, what's her role with it? What does she do with the projects?
So, the last deal we got, she actually brought it in house. She found it. She does a lot. So she doesn't get into too much designing, but she works the numbers. Um, she's comes from an accounting background.
Hmm.
So, that's super helpful. My other partner, Doug, is also comes from an amazing financial background. So I'm the deal maker. I'm the guy out there shaking hands and making deals happen and meeting with sellers. And so it's a pretty good dynamic. So she's amazing.
What's been the most challenging area that you've had to develop in the city?
Well, everything in the city is challenging. Shit.
Right.
With L&I, with zoning, with neighbors, I like to do buy right projects. I
Hmm.
hate going in front of a neighbor and asking them how to spend money. I like doing things buy right, and that's what we try to focus on. What is the zoning? What does it look like? What can I do? Do the metrics work? Yes or no? Next, right? And if it does, we start really digging into it. And if not, I'm super ADD, so it's like I'm perfect for analyzing deals because I don't get hung up on anything. I just care about the numbers and just move on.
Yeah. I feel like this industry is, constantly changing. How are you keeping up with it? How do you keep up with the market?
So I rely on some people who are way more smarter than I am. I prefer to be the dumbest guy in the room at all times, right? So the people I surround myself with are just big time players and amazing people. So I'm constantly listening, and I've done that throughout my whole life, right? Especially when you're in a room like that. I'm always analyzing, figuring things out, going with what I feel inside. So I just like to listen to people who are bigger, better, and smarter than me, digest that information, and kind of figure it out from there, right? And me and my team have been pretty good about doing that.
Right. Is there anyone you credit in particular for, helping give you, guidance on where you're at now and, who kind of helped mentor you along the way?
So there's a ton, right? There's just so many different people, right? It's at different levels and in different stages. I'm involved in some really high level mastermind groups that are just amazing and have been really helpful in my life. If I had to credit, like, if there was one person who made me realize that I really could do anything, um, would be a guy called Keith Cunningham out of Austin, Texas. He's a pretty amazing guy. He's an entrepreneurial coach. He's phenomenal. He was really helpful. Me and my wife went to see him and been to a lot of his stuff. So being 26, 27, 28, 29, going through some of his things were pretty eye-opening and stuff that I never dealt with, right? So that was really helpful. So I'd say he was probably one of the biggest. But then just like local cats, right? Like the people who were just doing what I do, playing at a bigger level, pushing themselves and pushing me, and just that. Those are the people I listen to and take
Yeah,
advice from.
absolutely. So is this what you saw yourself doing? Was this the
No,
career path you thought you'd be on?
no. I thought I was going to go be a marine biologist down in the University of Miami and live in the sun, and that's what I planned for myself when I was, you know, sophomore in high school. I thought I had no clue I'd be doing this shit.
Yeah.
I knew I'd own my own business. I knew that. I mean, I started my first business when I was 10, so I've always had that in me. But no, I never
So what is it
had a
then that,
clue.
that drew you to this business? Like what thought process were you working through when you first started that you were like, what, this is the thing to do?
So after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and my wife bought the houses, I was like such a Neanderthal. I didn't know how to get deals. I was just like, had no clue, right? Had no direction, no clue. So I'd pick up the obituaries and start calling dead people's families, which is insane,
Yeah.
right? But like, that's what I did because I didn't know any better, right? And a lot
Hmm.
of things that I've done, I didn't know any better. I didn't know that I really probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it. And it's like, I've always been like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it just kind of happened. And we bought a couple houses. Bart Blatstein bought the land in Northern Liberties, the old brewery. And we started immediately. I remember the newspaper, like, this guy's out of his fucking mind, and me and my wife were like, holy shit, there's something to this. We should start buying properties around there. So we started buying
Mm-hmm.
properties around there, fixing them up, renting them out, and then of course selling them and 1031ing them and doing other things. But like, just that kind of stuff, like following people who are going in, planting flags that have bigger pockets, and they're just way smarter, and just going in behind them.
Yeah. Now, so what gets you through the rough nights? I mean, I know as an entrepreneur, we've all had those nights where you lay awake literally the whole time and you're like, what am I doing? Is this the right thing to do? Should I do this deal? Should I not do this deal? Like what kind of perseverance do you have? Like how do you what self-talk do the dialogue that goes in your head that helps you get through the tough times?
So I have good sounding boards with my wife and my partner, Doug. So, look, it's tough, right? Like if this is easy, everybody'd be fucking doing this, right? It's just not, it's not easy, right? Waking up every day and pushing the rocks back up the hill. And then it's like Groundhog's Day every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like the challenge of that. I don't think, I try not to live in too much fear where I'm constantly like feeling the pressure. I have great outlets to deal with the stress, and I eat right. I work out. I play with my daughter, and just things that just take my mind off of everything. But yeah, there's sleepless nights, of course. I mean, just try to figure it out and realize that, look, tomorrow's a new day, and just somehow you'll get through it. I mean, I lived through 2008, right? So, we were millionaires before 2008, and we lost all our money and lost
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? So that was pretty interesting. So living through that and going through that with some really close other real estate friends and having that support, that I don't think anything could be as bad as what we went through then.
I'm sure that definitely had quite a, going through that in 2008 has certainly helped you in some way, at least with what's
Oh,
been
totally.
going on now. What kind of comparisons can you make to that?
So it's two totally different things, because this is the entire world and it's everyone, right? Like we're all affected, right? You're at your home office. I'm at
Mhm.
my development home office, and it's like it's weird. Everybody's affected. It's not just the housing industry. So you know how I'm prepared for it is what 2008 taught me, is to have more dry powder, right? Have more money in the bank, be smarter. I mean, the real estate deals that have been coming out the last 3 years have been ridiculous, right? And I stick to my metrics and I stick to my numbers, and I just don't force anything, because the numbers tell a story, right? And it's just like I just stick to those core rules, that I won't make mistakes like that again. I'm not saying I
Mhm.
won't make mistakes. I definitely will, but I won't make those types of mistakes again.
Right. How do you um, how do you make sure that you don't make the same mistakes? Like what is it that, because the thing is, I know that, our over the years we tend to have our story always changes, or at least I should say this, the way we remember this story always changes. So
Sure.
how do you how do you hold on to the key lessons?
So now I have a 4-year-old to answer to, right? So I
Hmm.
can't be stupid with my decisions. I have to be
Yeah.
smart, right? And I have my wife and my partner, right? So I have a ton of accountability people in my circle, right? So um, that's how I make sure not to screw this up again, right?
Right.
Because sometimes you see things. What I realize is chasing a deal is not the best way to go about it. At this point, I care less. Like, here's my number for this, and if it doesn't work for you, great. I don't force anything anymore.
Right.
So,
What is something that you would want people to know about you? Like, what about your projects is uh, evident in who you are?
um, shit, I don't know. I'm a pretty laid back person. normally in my day to day. I can get pretty intense when it comes to work.
Mm-hmm.
I try to go against the grain of most things. I don't conform and comply, which I'd say a lot of the shit we develop is like that. I don't know. It's just I've never listened to the masses and gone along with what most people say. I'm not good on following rules
Yeah.
ever.
Which is good to reinvent, which is something, yes, I always have always appreciated.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've always kind of done that, and it's worked out sometimes, and sometimes it hasn't.
yeah. How do you see the business growing over the next few years?
So I think we're in an interesting time. I had a couple commercial deals blow up on us that I negotiated well and worked long term, and kind of kicking rocks about it and give myself a little time to get over that and just realize that I have to be patient, right? So I'm a deal maker. I like being out there. I like making things happen, and it's tough when you're handcuffed and you can't, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
the new world, we're trying to figure out what's that look like. Um, what I think the future is, I think in the next 8 to 12 months, people are going to be really jammed up. People are going to be in trouble. I'm going to say people who weren't prepared for this, there's going to be issues. A lot of office, commercial. I mean, it's what's going to happen. Um, so we're kind of taking a step back, taking a deep breath, not being overly anxious, and just going to wait and see how things work out, and buy deals when they come around. I'm like I said, we're not going to overpay. So we think that in the next 8 months to 12 months, there's going to be some serious ability to do good deals out there. That's what I think.
Yeah. So you're erring more on the side of caution moving forward for the next few months, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have projects, we have we're doing a 12 unit boutique hotel at Locust Street, right? Thank God that's not open. Um, so that's we're lucky where we are with that project, right? It's going to open probably the beginning of next year. But
And
yeah, we're kind of
that's
just
a
taking a
newer
breath. What's
concept.
that?
That's a newer concept for you, yeah. The hotel.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a historic building, beautiful building. Guildhouse Hotel. It's the New Century Guild. Amazing story. I suggest everyone look it up. It's unbelievable, and yeah, it's totally new for us. Totally something different, right?
What drew you to that project?
Well, we looked at it and we were like, oh, wow, this would be amazing to have an apartment building right here. And then when we walked it, we're like, this is a hotel. Like we were doing another historic project in Old City that we were thinking about putting a hotel in. I'm like, this is the hotel. And that kind of how it, the story and everything behind it was almost too good to be true. So that's how it came about. Yeah. So it was, it's been an amazing project for 12 rooms. It's taken up a shit ton of time. But it's going to be unbelievable when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be super stoked when it opens up and gets
Yeah,
out there.
so it seems like, with your draw to historic buildings and, that you you like to kind of reinvent a story, I would say, as opposed to, creating one from scratch. So what what about that is um that can be fearful for some people. That could be scary, because you can kind of have comparisons to what something once was to what it becomes. Um, how does that change over the development phase for you? So because, constantly, along the way, your concept may take a step back and be like, oh, maybe we should do this instead of that.
So great question. With the Locust Street Hotel, it has done that, right? So we started out with like a more an extended stay, and now we're just like a completely different style hotel, right? So it has changed. We wanted to highlight the story. It was this amazing building that housed a club for women to get integrated with men in the workplace back in the 1890s. So we wanted to highlight the special women who started this place, right? Because it's just unbelievable. So yeah, it just constantly kind of evolves. Like we'll find a building and we'll understand the history of it, and we'll try to either play on that or not. It depends on what the building was, right? This one just happened to have an unbelievable story. Um, some do, some don't. It just depends on what we can pull out of the building and what's there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Are you ever, apprehensive once you've gotten halfway through the project and you feel like something's just not right and you feel like you have to change stuff? I mean, how do you work through that thought process?
So yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing for us with something like that is overthinking the concept and the hotel. It's a 12-unit hotel. It's not 112 units. So, it's just going back to keeping things simple, um, and working smart, right? And now that we have the processes and systems in place for that, we would like to replicate this um, style hotel. But holy shit, man, this one has been it's been a great learning lesson because it's completely different than what we do, right?
Right.
We just build apartment buildings that we hold and keep and put in our portfolio, and this is just completely different.
Hmm.
So it's been very challenging, and it's been great in that aspect.
Yeah. So working smart means that you have learned many things over the years. I think that's a nice phrase for learning from mistakes.
Yep.
And what would you say your best failure was?
Um, the best failure was when we brought $1 million down to Florida before the crash. We thought they were already at bottom, and we started buying pools and pools of houses off of banks. And when the ball dropped, when the crash happened, we were left without a seat. So that was the most eye-opening mistake, right? Getting my thinking I need to get to a certain house number or a number of properties to satisfy a goal, and thinking that just getting my self-worth wrapped up into my net worth was completely fucked.
Yeah. How do you, I know as careers go on, we have projections in our head with where we think we should be or where we want to be. How do you deal with where you feel like you've surpassed your own expectations? And then how do you deal with where you feel like you've fallen short? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, we all judge ourselves more harshly than anyone else. So how do you work through that?
Um, I try not to get too wrapped up into it. So, like I said, I just bailed on a couple deals. I mean, I let myself get pissed and kick rocks about it for a day, and then just whatever, move on. I don't think about it much. I don't pat myself on the back. I just put my head down and just keep grinding and make it happen. And then, one day I'll just be done with all this, and who knows what'll happen, but like, I don't really stop to think about my accomplishments or what I know where I'm going. I have a whole list of goals that I do. I mean, they're all thrown out the window now with all this crazy shit going on. But,
Yeah, very much.
um, you know, I'm driven by goals, but I don't stop to really like pat myself on the back. It's like, great, that's done. What's next? And what are we doing? So, yeah. So
Have you had to reroute a few times over the years? Have you had to make some pivots here and there, or have you
absolutely.
pretty much?
You always have to pivot. You always have to, you always have to change. You always have to evolve. You always have to get better. You always have to, look, in a time like now, right? If you're not looking at your processes and systems, right, and tweaking those to get better, you're a fucking idiot, right? I mean, you
Mhm.
have time right now to like you actually have a pause button where you could take your systems really fine tune them and really, really work on them. Right. And so what does that look like? Most people aren't doing that. They'd rather go out and just forget about their worries and go gardening and do this and that. We're actually processing how to get better, right? What does the new world look like? Like, what is this going to be like? So that's what people should be doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're pivoting and moving, and who knows what this is going to look like, but we're doing everything we can to be ready for it.
Mm-hmm. How have you been able to, uh, you know, communicate with your team and keep everyone, in the, the same mindset and the same, driven? Because, like I said, this has been such a challenging time for everyone to prioritize, so many things, between business, personal, health. Like it's been a very, scary, uneasy time for people. So how have, for the people that you're surrounding yourself with, the people you're working with, personally, professionally, how have you been able to, help keep everyone as, realistic, but positive as well?
So, fortunately, my partner Doug and my wife are driven, super positive people, right? So I don't have to give any, there doesn't have to be any pep talks there. We do weekly meetings, high level, right? What's going on? Weekly traction meetings. We started a construction end of the business this year. So I do morning huddle ups with those guys and just make sure that everybody's what's going on, and weekly high level of like, hey, here's what we need to accomplish this week, and just stay positive, right? Like, look, everyone's scared to death. I'm just trying to focus on what's next, right? Just like the whole ADD thing. Like, okay, I'm over this. What are we doing? How are we getting past this? With all the negative and the fearful things that are going on in the news, I just don't watch the news. I can't do it. So, I'm just focused on my 10-mile radius of my life, right? That's basically and what I can control and what I can do there. That's basically what I'm focused on.
Yeah. Would you say that, with everything that's been going on, you're put a lot further behind? Like, do you feel like this is going to be a big setback for you for right now?
So we're lucky. We've been collecting all of our rents. We continue to monitor that. Like in these times, communication is the most important thing, right? So constantly communicating with our management company, making sure our tenants are on the up and up and things are going well for them. Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's going to be affected here in some capacity. I think the guys that are holding more commercial space and more office buildings and that type of stuff are really going to get affected. But yeah, it's just it's affecting everybody right now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, especially when PA opens back up,
Mm-hmm.
or Philadelphia, I should say.
Yeah. What would you say is the best thing right now that is helping to keep you engaged and, keeping what you're trying to do relevant?
So right now, I can tell you, I'm working a ton on the systems and processes, but I'm enjoying spending time with my 4-year-old daughter. It's been amazing hanging out with her. Like that's just unbelievable. Um, it's interesting. Thank God she's not older and I actually have to teach her stuff, but you know, I have her looking at numbers and showing her what we do and, as much as I can. And if she wants to do this, great. And if not, I could care less. Just as long as she's a great human. And I'm just focused on being in the moment right now and
Mm-hmm.
what's going on around me.
It is, yeah. It's so important to, I think, try and stay in the moment as best you can, so that you are able uh, to not be clouded or have your judgment clouded when you're trying to pivot or when you need
Sure, absolutely.
to
And that's going to be the
readjust.
most important thing right now is moving with the times and how to be creative. It's just going to be the new world we're living in.
Yeah. And yeah, just keep everything going, of course. So breaking down, the business that you're in and, the passion that you have for this, what would you say you're really in the business in? Like what is it at the core of what you do and who you are that I think is a reflection of all of this?
So basically, I mean, this business is a relationship business, from doing the deal with sellers to the very end product, right? I mean, it's relationships, right? Who's your team around you? Who you have, right? We have great architects, engineers. I mean, you're in a relationship business, right? And that's the most important thing. So, that's how we get great deals from our relationships. And that's how we put out amazing products from our relationships. So, yeah, so I think I'm in a relationships business.
How do you create trust with those relationships?
Honesty, um, being real, right? Um, some of the best deals I've got, I've offered what the real price was, and they go off to try to get $1 million more, and they realize that that person can't do what they say they were going to do, and they always come back to me.
Mm-hmm.
you know so it's just being honest and being real, I think, is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So uh, today's episode is going to be sponsored by the charity of your choice, which you want to tell us a little about that?
So Full Abundance is an amazing charity that we get behind and believe in. I mean, everybody deserves to have food, right? Especially in a time like now. So
Absolutely.
that's something that we really believe in.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really
Thank you.
appreciate your time and all of your insight and telling us everything that's been going on with you. So,
Thank you, Teresa.
yeah,
Appreciate your time.
all right, absolutely. And hopefully we'll get to catch up soon.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Bye.